All right, everybody, thank you for tuning in to the Slay Goals interview series, another segment. We are here in the month of May every Monday and Friday. We just have some awesome interviews lined up. If you are new to our community, my name is Felicia. I'm the founder of Seek God Slay Goals, and we are a Christian lifestyle brand that helps the millennial woman of faith to enhance her physical, economic, emotional, and physical health. And really, the purpose of these interviews is to be a means of inspiration and encouragement for you. We are all in different places in our faith journeys and on our faith walks. And so the hope is that as you hear the story of these women, you will be encouraged and inspired to just continue on in your own journey, that you'll be uplifted, that you will feel like that you have some more ammunition just to keep going. And so that is the purpose today. And we're going to have a great interview today. Usually I read our guests' bios, but I'm not going to do that today because I really want her to share her story, and we'll get into that throughout the interview. But right now, just make sure that you guys are when you're tuning in, just make sure that you're sharing. And if you comment, just say hi so that we can know that you're here and that we can interact with you. So our guest for this evening is Amisha Coles, and I'm going to bring her on screen. Hey, how are you? Oh, wait, hold on. Can't hear you. 1 second. Let's try it again. All right. Can you hear me? Oh, I can't hear you. Okay. So log out and then come back in using the same link. So we'll still give people some time to come in. So while she's doing that, I see Lucy joined. Hi, Lucy. Thank you so much for tuning in. Amisha, she's going to come back in, and y'all, she has a very powerful story. But for those of you, again, who are not familiar with Seek God Slay Goals, we do have a private Facebook group that you are more than welcome to join. We have Bible studies, challenges, prayer. So we have Bible study every Thursday at 7. So definitely feel free to join us if you want to be a part of that community. Let's see. Can you hear me now? I can't hear you. Okay. Maybe it's the headphones. Oh my goodness. No, why can't we hear you? Hold on. Okay. So you know it's going to be good when we have all these technical difficulties. We're going to try to get her back in. But the name of our private Facebook group is called Seek God Slay Goals. I'm sorry, the Seek God Slay Goals movement. And you are more than welcome to join. You can also connect with us on Instagram at Seek God Slay Goals. Okay, I hear you now, but now I hear the echo. So try the headphones again, and I think we'll be good. This is technology for you. This is quarantine life. Like, you just got to be on these live streams all the time.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hallelujah.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. So I'm super excited to have you on. Before we hop into your story, just some people may already know you from social media, Gaining Angels, but just before we get into all of that, just tell people who Amisha is.
I'm Amisha. I am a 32-year-old single mom of 2. I have 1 angel baby. I go to church every Sunday. I love the Lord. I'm a relationship banker by trade. Love sports, love anything spontaneous. Easy person to get along with, and I just want to see everybody win. So that's kind of where I am right now.
That's awesome. See, everybody winning. There's definitely room for all of us to win. So that is an amazing spirit to have. Now, we are going to be talking about grief a lot. You mentioned the angel baby, but I think sometimes we just say phrases or say words and we don't really know what they mean and
Hmm.
what they are. So, and I know you're getting a certification in this. So, explain to people what is grief and what actually causes grief.
So grief to me is an emotion. It's just something, it's a heaviness that you feel, a longing that you feel when you miss somebody very, very strongly. Grief could be triggered by anger, a death, a post-traumatic stress situation. Grief is just a whole lot of emotions just wrapped up into one big thing, and that's how grief is created. And it definitely takes a toll on people's bodies, whether or not they believe it or not.
Mm. And so now tell us a little bit about your grief story.
So my grief story started in 2014 when my son TJ passed away from cancer. But I didn't start grieving him until maybe a year and a half later, because I think I had like that post traumatic situation where I didn't want to believe that he was gone, or I was in denial, you know.
Mm.
So I didn't start grieving TJ until about 2015, 2016, and that's when it really, really just hit me that my son wasn't here anymore. And then I started going down my whirlwind of darkness.
So during that time, what did that look like, immediately after his passing before you started grieving? What did life look like for you?
So I have two other children, and they were both very young. Josiah was one, Leah was 2 months old when TJ passed away, and I was just struggling as a person. I was struggling as a parent. I didn't know my other two children very
Mhm.
well, because the whole time that I was with the whole time they were being like, they were born, all that, they were with their godparents or family members, because I was in the hospital with TJ most of the time.
Mhm.
I didn't want to leave him. So when TJ died, I still didn't know my other two children very well. So it was a process of getting to know them, trying to restructure my life, because everything was surrounded by TJ. I lost my job, I lost my house, I lost my car. So I lost a lot of stuff just by making a choice to take care of my son. So it was bad.
Wow. So I don't have children, so I can't even imagine what that's like. And just even the thought of losing a person seems like a lot, let
Yeah.
alone a child. And so, I'm just thinking if I were in that position, I would have a lot of questions for God, or I would kind of be like,
Oh, girl, I was
what's up?
angry. I didn't talk. I left the church completely. I didn't, you pray. It's like you pray for a thing, you pray for peace. And I made a lot of pacts with God during the time that TJ was alive, and He gave me everything that I asked for. But you don't realize, when certain things happen, such as your loss of a child, you don't understand the magnitude of loss that you feel. So even though I was bargaining with God and He gave me everything that I asked for, I was still angry. I didn't want to hear
Mhm.
God. I didn't want to talk to Him. I didn't want to see about it. I started praying. I started reading the Bible. I just started doing whatever I wanted to do.
Mhm.
That was my time to really wild out and lash out, because I was angry, but I didn't know. I didn't know. I didn't know. I just, like if it happened now, I would do so much different. But I just had to go through that season, and it was a dark
Wow.
one.
So what would you do different? You said you would do it differently.
You know what? I would probably have not really. I would have trusted God more to have me, because sometimes you go through avenues. I believe, I'm a firm believer in a passive will and a perfect will. You know what I mean? The permissive will. I'm sorry, and a perfect will. And perfect will was, him taking TJ and me resuming life, and probably would have gotten married and all that kind of stuff. But then we take the permissive route, and I started drinking and smoking and sexing it up and doing whatever I want to do. So you pick up other spirits on the way, and you just deal with more stuff that you got to deal with that you didn't have to deal with, but now you done picked it up, so you have to
Right.
deal with it.
Right.
So that's what I would have grieved him then, instead of waiting 2 years later to do so.
So you talked about how you went through this phase where you were angry at God, you started wilding out, but you were able to bounce back from that. Now, some people they don't. They just kind of stay in that phase where, they may stay in depression or they may stay wilding out, but you were able to bounce back. So how were you really able to do that?
It's a process. It's still something that you bounce back from. It's I started to go to church, to KCC, and the Lord basically told me, you're angry with me, but I could have took all three of your children. I left
Mhm.
you two gifts here as a reminder of my love. You know, I could have took you and I left you
Wow.
here. So, you know, once you start thinking about it, dang, you know, yeah, he did take TJ, but TJ came and TJ's job was to simply teach me unconditional love. We
Mhm.
have to understand the meaning of why he gives us, you know, these babies and then he takes them. And for me, I personally believe that he gave me TJ because at the time before I had TJ, I could be in Jersey one day and New York the next day and Virginia the next day after that. I was just so all over the place because that's just I needed something to calm me and slow me down.
Mhm.
And TJ was that person for me. He provided structure. He gave me a peace that I never thought I would have. He gave me a compassion that I never thought I would have. He gave me a love that I thought I would never have. And he just taught me like a lot of lessons. I seen his strength and I'm like, dang, son, you must get it from somebody. So you get it from your mama. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But he just gave me this like I can't give up type spirit. So I'm like, well, my son didn't give up. He fought to the very end. So, you know, I started going to KCC and I didn't sing for a while. I just allowed my heart to just started getting healed, and that's how I mean this is how I am now.
Yeah. And I think it's important for people to understand that it is a process. You know, even if you're not dealing with loss, whatever it is that you are dealing with, it is going to be a process. And
Mm-hmm.
just remain encouraged in that. Lucy said it did. It took her having her son to stop being angry and bitter.
Yeah,
Yeah, like sometimes, you know, people come into our lives for particular reasons and seasons, and their purpose is very specific. And
yeah,
sometimes we do have to go through that loss to kind of so God can get out of us what it is he wants to get out of us.
yeah,
So this kind of birthed your movement. So talk
yeah.
to us about Gaining Angels.
So Gaining Angels originally was only created for a few women that I had wanted to write a book with. And then it grew from 10 members to 20 members to 50
Mhm.
members to almost 3,000 members, and we kind of expanded it to where you can talk about more than just child loss. You could talk about the loss of your mother, your father, your best friend, your cousin, your uncle, your neighbor, and more so it's just a group that people can go to get encouragement and support, because a lot of the times people post on Facebook and a lot of people are like, oh, I think you should go get therapy because you're still talking about this person a year later. So I wanted to have an avenue where people could post all they want to, no judgment,
Mhm.
and post whatever they want, and we will be there to pick up the pieces and to encourage them to keep going. So that's kind of how Gaining Angels became a thing.
And it's thriving. The Facebook group has what, thousands of members in it now?
Yeah, we're at 3,000, and every day people just join, and you know we do different things. So we always do cash apps, or we can buy some of our people lunches and all that kind of stuff. We just want to keep people encouraged. Basically, is what it is.
Yeah. Now you mentioned therapy. Was that a part of your process?
Actually, no. Therapy didn't come into play for me later until like last year. Like when I started dealing with the anxiety portion of it all and the,
Mhm.
you know, the like, you know, I'm not going to say a depression, but I guess it kind of was. But more so anxiety. That's when I came to therapy. But honestly, just really battling this thing out with God, trying to get the understanding of why this happened. And all that, and just singing my way through it, and just trying to be as an effective person. I love to help people, so that was another way that I was able to get healed from it, and just knowing that I have a gift in being able to you know, go pray for somebody or get them through the moment of loss or whatever it is that they feeling.
Yeah, and I think that talks to, or that speaks to the point that a lot of times, some of the things that we go through, yes, it's for us, but it's also for other
Other
people.
people, yeah,
Some of the things that we experience are so that you can be that, you know, inspiration or that encouragement to another person, or help pull them out of what it is that they were going through. And I think it's so important for us to just keep that in mind. I was talking yesterday about how sometimes we have gotten selfish in how we're living. We don't want to be obedient to what God is telling us to do because we're thinking about ourselves.
yeah,
And sometimes God is really trying to use us for other people. Like in Genesis, he wanted to use Abram to bless the entire earth, but it
yeah,
required a level of obedience. And so I just think that's really powerful that you have taken up that, you know, the charge that God has given you, so that everybody else who is coming behind you, that they have this strength, that they have this encouragement, that they have this place where they can grieve without being judged, because it is
yeah,
something that not everybody is going to really understand if you if you haven't been through it. So to that person who might be where you used to be, who is like just ready to give up, they're on the brink of giving up, they lost, confused, they're angry with God, what would you say to them?
I would say that prayer is definitely the key. And even if you're not a religious person, there's still, I would say that there's still life after death. And I really strongly believe that, we just have to wake up and put one foot in front of the other and just go. And before you know it, you done walked a mile. I always say that your story is not for you. Your story is a living testament of what God can do. And he's definitely have did a lot of stuff for me that he's opening doors for me that I never thought was possible. So, look at it as, okay, God, what am I supposed to learn from this? That's kind of how I look at things.
Yeah, what am I supposed to learn from this? And I think that also goes to shifting our perspective. I don't know if you saw there's a video going around today of the lady who was in a car accident.
Yes,
And
girl, she went off.
she went off, but it was because she had this perspective of, she didn't have a negative perspective of, oh, look at my car, I got into this accident. She looked at the perspective of God saved my life. He protected
I did it
me.
again.
Yes. And so I think with whatever it is we're going through in life, if we would just kind of shift our perspective a little bit, it will make things a little bit easier for us to kind of deal with and cope with. But again, that comes with that relationship that you have with God, doing the things you mentioned, prayer and just being in his presence. So now you have the movement.
Yes.
And you also recently launched a collaborative book.
Yes, we're so excited about it.
So tell us about the book.
I'm so super proud of this project. It started out with 10 of us and things happened and it was now 9 of us, and my friend calls it a divine 9. So it's 9 women. We've all lost children in different ways. It was important for me to find people who have lost children in different ways so that we all wouldn't have the same story, because as we know, all of our kids is not dying from cancer. All of them are not dying from, drug overdoses or whatever the case may be. Like, they're dying of other things.
Right.
So when you look at the 9 of us, I mean, one of, my son died of cancer. Another girl, her twins, got burned up in the fire. Another girl, she suffered loss violently through somebody at her church that she still goes to the church.
Wow.
Yeah, you got one that, had to carry a baby all weekend long and the baby was deceased. You got one who had to try to figure out, because of her Christian walk, whether or not she should terminate her pregnancy or allow her daughter to, be in a lot of pain. I mean, you got all of them are amazing women.
Wow.
And I wanted to, it's one girl, she lost her fiance and her daughter. And then another one, she had 2 sets of twins that she lost. So everybody got different stories. But it's amazing to me to just see their strength, because you're going to hear about how our children died. But the best thing is that you're going to hear about how we all overcame. So that was important to me. And I wanted to just do that because of everything that's going on in the world today and people losing kids left and right. I just wanted to provide a grief book that I didn't have 5 years ago when my son died. I don't want to hear a whole bunch of prayer and scriptures and stuff when I'm grieving. I want to hear some real raw stuff. What did you go through to get you over what you went through?
Right.
So that's kind of what the book is. They're real raw. I mean, the girls put everything into it, and I'm just super excited about it.
Wow, that's awesome. It sounds really powerful. So how can people get the book?
It's on Amazon right now. The book is called Gaining Angels Presents Life After Death. So they can go on Amazon. That's the best way to get it right now.
Amazon. So guys, make sure that you definitely go get that book to support. Let me see. We have some comments here. Pastor is on. Hi, Pastor.
Hey, Pastor.
Lucy is on. Takoya. I hope I'm saying it. Takoa.
Lucy and Takoa are 2 of my co-authors. Hey, y'all.
Awesome. Michelle is on. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Kat Jackson, she said she's so proud of you.
That's my auntie.
Sadija, I hope I'm saying your name right. She's so proud of you. So yeah, I mean, there are people who definitely need what you have, and I'm just excited. I'm excited.
I've met a lot of those people just through, like Sadija, we met through Gaining Angels. My aunt she's my person I like in my family. We all have that one person. My aunt is my one person in my family that I can go to, no judgment, all that. So I'm super excited for the support. Yeah.
That's awesome. And so what's next? What's next for you?
Next, you know what, we're getting a lot of like radio show interviews, and like I'm working on already my mind. The Lord already gave me different visions. I want to do how to explain death to a child, like the cartoon version. I want to do another compilation of like parents that have passed away. I just feel like this is my ministry, so this is where the Lord got me planted. So I'm gonna sit right here and see what the end gonna be.
Right? Just go do what God says. Just go. And I was saying yesterday how we don't always know. Sometimes he just tells us to go and we don't even know where he's telling us to go.
Yeah.
But it's when we go, when we just act, that clarity comes through action, and he'll begin to make things clearer for you. So when you started, or when he gave you the vision for Gaining Angels, how did you feel about it? Were you reluctant to start it, or what did
Yes.
the process look like for you?
Okay, everybody know me. I don't like funeral homes. I don't like hearses. I don't like nothing that got nothing to do with a funeral. Nothing to do with death. I do not like it.
Mm,
So the fact that he gave me this ministry to birth out of death, it was like and then it was like July of 2019. It was just a hot summer day, and I remember my friend like, you talk about this all the time, just do it, just
mm,
start it. Even if you only have 10 people a part of it and it changed their lives, just do it. So like I said, almost 3,000 members later, I get messages daily of people that's like, thank you so much for starting this group. It's an outlet for me. And that just makes my heart like feel like, okay, I did it. I did something that the Lord wanted me to do. Like, you know what I
yeah,
mean? So as long as he gets the glory out of it, we'll continue to do it. I never want it to be a thing where it's like, oh, Mish did this, because I'm like, no, the Lord really did all of this. Yeah, period. I
yeah,
never wanted to even come to KCC to be a minister, let alone,
girl.
do anything like this. I wanted to
Right.
just sit in the chair and get fed. But I guess sometimes when you got so much calling on your life, God just like, no, there's still more you have to do, and you have to be obedient to do it. So this is just where it is.
Yeah. So now, how can people connect with the group and just connect with you, just in general?
So most of the time people reach me through the Gaining Angels page. So we do have a whole big page for that. It is a private group because I like to respect people's grieving process of it all. But you can click to join, or anybody can add you into the group, and you can be a part of it. And then you can just literally, if you want to find me on social media, I'm under Mima Shamir. So that's basically the ways that everybody find me. It's people that I don't even know that hit me up all the time, and I'm just like, okay, go with it.
Um, so now maybe somebody's not feeling comfortable, joining a group or being vocal about it. What are some, not strategies, but what are some recommendations that you would have for them as they're going through their grieving process?
Find one person that you're comfortable talking to. Find one person that is like a no judgment type of person. Find that person. If you don't have that one person, just write your thoughts out so that at least they're off of you. I'm a big person that if I can't express it, which is really rare because I got a mouth, if I can't express it, writing sometimes is very therapeutic for me, because at least somebody, even if it's myself, can see it. It's out of me, and I just usually throw it in the trash, or do something like that. So always just have everybody should have a person, though. Have a person that you can really vent to and talk to, and that's going to get you right back on the right path.
Good, good, good. Great recommendations. IKEA's on. Thank you so much. Okay, thanks, Michelle. She put in the link for the book. IKEA said that's good. Not enough of these combos about death are being had, especially in the church. Yeah, and I think when we experience death,
The
we're
old people tell you to the old people tell you, let the dead bury the dead. I cannot stand that comment, and I know they're coming from a right place, but we are in 2020, and we have real hearts, and we have real emotions, and a lot
right,
of pastors and stuff, they don't want to talk about death, because to them that just has to do with darkness and depression and sadness, and you got demons or something if you experiencing grief. And I'm like, no, grief is a real feeling. Like, let these
right,
people feel so they can get healed.
right,
The more open they are about their feelings, like I talk about TJ a lot because that's my healing. You know what I mean? When people talk about TJ to me, I'm like, oh, you remember him, like, you know what I mean? And it makes my heart feel good. You got to meet people where they at, you know what I mean? Especially in the churches, people not coming in after experiencing a loss like, oh, I'm speaking in tongues and I'm ready to do this.
right.
No, they are broken. Their hearts are broken. Okay. and and
Absolutely.
and people got to understand that you got to give them their time. And I'm not saying condone the fact that they might be depressed for 2 and 3 years, because after a certain while we're going to come up off that thing, you know what I mean?
Right,
But
right.
you got to allow people to have their time. It's very important to their grieving process to let them have that time. Don't push
Yeah.
them into a spiritual realm. They're not trying to hear it.
Mm-hmm. So true. And Nakia said Jesus wept. Yeah. And so I was going to say, there's this expectation that not even just with death, but just anything that we face, we're expected just to bounce back from it. Like, oh, just pray about it. And okay, we understand prayer works, but we're still human
Yeah.
and we still have to kind of grieve these things. We have these emotions that we have to process. And so, exactly what you said, like especially in the church, I think we need to be more I don't want to say respectful, but just more mindful
Yeah.
of that. And like you said, meet people where they are, because everybody is on different levels in their faith journey. Just
Yeah.
because you might be speaking in tongues and in ministry doesn't mean that somebody else is there. They might literally, this might be their first experience with God or with the church. And so it's very, very mindful, or it's important for us to be mindful of that.
I did something. One of the things that I did when TJ first died, I was in a church speaking in tongues and jumping all around and all that shouting and all that. And my little heart was broken as soon as I went home. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it's like a thing where it's like people just got to be honest about where they were. And once I started to get honest, that's when I stopped going to church, because I'm like, what's the point of going to church? I'm really angry at this God that y'all serve that I'm shouting over. Like that?
Mhm.
No, 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 no. So once I really allowed him to come in years later and start
Right.
healing my heart, and I'm not saying it take years, but if you really love somebody and they die, your grieving is not going to be done in a couple of weeks or a month or 2 months or
Right.
whatever like that. It's people that still grieving 20 years later, but they just know how to cope through it.
Yeah.
Every day is not a dark day. You know what I mean? So it's a thing. That's
Yeah.
right now is heavy. It's a pandemic. My next venture is called Coping Through the Pandemic.
Yeah.
That's going to be a thing. So that's some stuff that I'm working on, but it's just something that needs to be talked about.
Yeah, it definitely does. And even with, like you mentioned, the pandemic, it's different because people can't even like see their loved ones. They're not even prepared
Yeah.
to go through this. So it's
Yeah.
definitely needed. Um, so before we wrap up, you already let us know where we can find your book. Go to Amazon and give us the name of the book one more time.
It's called Gaining Angels Presents Life After Death.
And so, do you have any final words that you want to share, a word of encouragement for the people?
Well, thank you for having me on your
Of
show.
course.
Uh, but I'm definitely honored. Trust me, it's not something light that I take for granted every day to be able to be the face or to be able to be the person. Go out and buy the book. It's an amazing book. It's not a book that's going to make you cry. It's going to be a book that makes you feel empowered, but you are going to feel the emotions of every single reader. I mean, of every single writer. You're going to feel angry. You're going to feel like you want to fight. You're going to feel like you just sad and shut down. But at the end of it, you're going to read that we all got victory at the end of it. So definitely check out the book and keep us lifted. Add people
Absolutely.
into the group that need to be, helped during their process. And, just pray that things continue to go well and that God continues to order our steps.
Absolutely. And even when you were going through the different stories, I felt all of those emotions. So y'all go get the book, make sure you support, invite people to the Gaining Angels group. And yeah, we'll definitely be keeping you guys in prayer, because I mean that even for you or everybody that's, kind of helping you with this, that is a heavy thing. To, constantly be dealing with or helping people through grief. So
Yeah,
I commend you for your obedience. Thank you so much for coming on.
no
And,
problem.
we'll definitely have to do this again. We'll support. And guys, we'll be back here on Monday for another Slay Goals interview every Monday and Friday in May. We are here for a pop-up season. So make sure you tune back in. You all enjoy this beautiful weather. Make sure you social distance, though. Stay safe out here. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.